lost mine in the sand. Where will you stand?
And once again, it's the Israel Update. Hanok Young and myself, Mike Clayton. And Hanok, it has been an amazing thing for a week to wake up in the morning, look at my phone, and I think there was only 1 or 2 days that I had an alert from a red alert on the app.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking about the people up north and various places that are finally sleeping through the night for the first time in over a year. It's just
Yeah, it's strange. Now, on Sunday, as is my usual custom, I get together with our High on the Heart
yeah.
people and we ascend the Temple Mount. And there's a woman in our group who is actually from Kiryat Shmona.
Oh, wow.
So she said she was just informed that she's going to be able to move back home by February.
Mm,
Now, again, she's not, counting. We don't know. There are a lot
yeah.
of question marks.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, I'm getting ready to leave. I'm getting a ride into Jerusalem to go up to the Har HaBayit, the Temple Mount, and all of a sudden there's the alert.
Hmm.
Now, again, just to mention what that's like, all of the sirens in Modi'in, the entire city, go off.
Wow.
At the same time, the two apps that I have on my
Hmm.
phone and the home front command all go off at the same time. So it's bizarre. It's bizarre. Anyway,
It's like kind of
what's
kind of like having
happening
an
with,
earthquake and a tornado at the same time, you know?
yeah, and a
Yeah.
flood. And a
Yeah.
flood, because then you're looking out saying the tsunami is coming. We're not even anywhere near the water. Very strange. Okay, so I think among the most beneficial things I can do is kind of share with people what it is that Israelis are thinking.
Hmm.
The general feeling is scratching the back of our head, saying we knocked the stuffing, not the word I wanted to use, but we knocked the stuffing out of Hezbollah. Why not finish the job? That's the general consensus. And the reality is, we could only degrade Hezbollah's capabilities.
Yeah.
To totally destroy Hezbollah would mean occupying the entire country of Lebanon.
Hmm.
That's not on anyone's
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
So that's one piece. The other piece is among Americans that I speak to, the general feeling is, hey, listen, y'all signed a 60-day ceasefire, knowing that 56 days into that, Trump will be President 47. That leads me into, and again, I don't want to talk about American internal
Yeah.
politics, although I just saw a note that maybe the nominee for Secretary of Defense is going to be replaced.
Yeah.
But not my circus, not my monkeys.
Yeah.
Uh, okay,
It's definitely a circus with monkeys. I got that.
okay. Um, I do not believe that Donald Trump is going to pick up exactly where he left off regarding Israel. I
Okay.
think everybody in Israel or in America that is looking for President Trump to come in, support everything that Israel is doing, and then some, and take away all the negativity and all the bad stuff that Biden and Harris did, I do not believe is going to happen.
Yeah.
Trump always thinks of everything in a business perspective.
True.
The lure, the lure, lure,
Lure.
L-U-R-E, or
Yeah. That's lure.
oh, thank you, to make a deal with Iran is something that he won't be able to resist. This is what he's all about. He's gonna pull in Saudi Arabia,
Hmm.
the Abraham Accords. He's about me.
Hmm.
North Korea. He
Hmm.
want the guy, he used to get up in the morning, like 3 in the morning, and send out a tweet making fun of the way the despot that rules North Korea wears his hair. I mean,
Little Rocket
this
Man.
was this is like really bizarre.
And then,
Uh,
to throw in something into that mix, I don't know if you saw the news of what happened in South Korea yesterday. Of
yes,
course, we follow that because Kathy and I have a son
yeah,
in
of
Korea,
course.
and this was kind of like, wait a minute, where'd that come from? So again, something else of chaos coming into.
This is and anyone who says, "Oh, this is just," I mean, when the president of South Korea declares martial law
Hmm.
and then a few hours later does the moonwalk backwards and says, "Oh, there's no martial law."
Hmm.
Um, and South Korea has always been considered a stable democracy,
Oh yeah,
at least for that part of the world.
yeah.
In any case, it's all bizarre. Now, one other thing about Trump, the statement the other day that if the hostages aren't released by the
Hmm.
20th of January, there's going to
Hmm.
be hell to pay.
Hmm.
So people were saying to me, "So Hanoch, hey, what do you think about that?"
Yeah.
And I said, "What do you want me to think about that?" Because, and I want our listeners to understand this, what is it that you think that Trump is going to do? Do you think he's going to carpet bomb Gaza? Do you think he's going to ethnically cleanse Gaza?
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to send in SEAL team and Delta Force and they're going to do what the IDF has been unable to do for almost 14 months? To me, it's talk. What
It's
leverage does America have over Hamas?
yeah. It is talk, but it is similar to and I mean, I look at this as similar to what happened in Iran with the change from Carter to
Reagan.
Reagan in that
Yeah,
day. The
yeah.
talk was we're going to do something, and I personally feel that these people are probably afraid of well, whatever it is, it's going to be very bad, so we better do something about it. But it's very difficult to negotiate with insanity. When you
Yeah.
walk into the insane
Yeah.
asylum and start talking about negotiations, things are probably not going to go well. And this is the problem that I see with Trump, is he does not understand the spiritual aspect of what's going on in the Middle East.
There are many things that he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And Trump, the way to understand Trump, I think, is to view absolute rulers of the ancient world, even ones that did good things, certainly Koresh,
Hmm.
Cyrus,
Hmm.
allowing the Jews to go back
Hmm.
to Israel, have a state, rebuild the temple. And only 5% went. But anyway,
Yeah.
not the issue for today's conversation. Trump will do things, but he expects gifts. He expects things in return. And he will, in his own way, pressure Israel. And I am convinced that much of what he did in his last presidency on behalf of Israel, part of it, at least part of it, I'll go back to much of it, had to do with what he perceived would get Jewish votes in the United States of America.
We,
And I don't know why he got such bad advice. And I don't know why Jared Kushner and everybody else and Ambassador Friedman and everyone else, no one said to him, "Mr. President, Jewish Americans vote like the rest of Americans.
hmm.
Hey, there's not a special Israel connection."
Hmm. Well, because when you have an American Jew, you have an American mentality. All
Yeah.
right. And so, to understand the difference in mentalities, all one has to do is go to Jerusalem, go up to the Makani Yehuda market, and negotiate there, which basically means whatever the price is, that's what you pay. You may get a little bit off here and there. The other one is to go to the Muslim quarter, which I don't suggest anybody doing, and spending your money on what will be used for terrorism, which I really don't appreciate people doing. But there you're going to, well, how much is this? It's this exorbitant price. Then you come down and back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. People don't understand. And I saw this when I was in Tucson, Arizona, I was on a used car lot. And
Yeah.
I did not understand the Middle Eastern mentality of negotiation. So, we have a car on the lot and maybe there's $1,000 that's negotiable there. So I give that price. Well, the guy undercuts me and gives me, say if it was 10,000 and
Yeah.
we could have sold it for 9, the guy offers me 5.
Yeah.
Looking back, I could have been, like the richest car salesman on the lot if I'd have just understood that when a guy comes in from Saudi Arabia or Iraq or somewhere else, if the car is worth 10, you start at 25.
Yeah.
And I would have sold it for 12. I mean but see, Americans don't understand that type of negotiation. They're in the
No.
mentality of the flea market or the garage sale,
Yeah.
not Middle Eastern negotiation.
No. And it's going to be very interesting on many levels to see how this all plays out.
Hmm.
The ceasefire with Hezbollah is fragile.
Yeah, at
The
best.
other day, France said we Israelis have violated it 52 times. And there's supposed to be a mechanism where they do something. Like we spot weapons being going back into a village somewhere, and we're supposed to report it to the Americans and the French, and they're supposed to get together and figure out what to do, and then approach the Lebanese government and Hezbollah. I mean, it's a joke. Any aspect of that, assuming that the Lebanese army is different than Hezbollah and would be willing to stop them from rearming, is
Hmm.
foolish. Same thing
Hmm.
with UNIFIL. I mean, the whole thing is kind of like liar's poker. I mean, everyone knows the other one is faking out the other one. Very
Hmm.
strange.
Hmm.
Very strange.
Speaking of the UN, unwanted nobodies, they of course made this decree that if Netanyahu was to go over, to other countries, he could be arrested. And then backing this up now with this thought of any of the IDF soldiers that have served in Gaza could be arrested if they travel to other countries.
That's the International Criminal Court. Yeah, the
Yeah,
ICC.
yeah,
It's problematic.
it
Now,
is.
again, and it ties in with this ceasefire thing with Hezbollah. Israel did not want France to be involved with it,
Hmm.
but Lebanon had been a colonial possession of France, so France has some kind of special relationship with it. So the moment that it was agreed that it was the French and the Americans that would oversee this thing, not a surprise, France said, "Oh, should Netanyahu or Gallant come to France, they wouldn't be arrested."
Hmm.
I mean, oh, there's no connection there. It's really bad. And Israelis who love to travel, this is going to be very problematic.
It
This
is.
is going to be very problematic.
I do have a suggestion for Netanyahu that France would be a very good place to buy arms from because none of them have ever been used.
Actually, France has barred
Yeah.
Israeli vendors from participating in the last two arms sales fairs that they have.
Hmm.
It's really the entire world is insane, and then the UN itself voted in this resolution for to have a special conference on a two-state solution, and Australia for the first time voted against Israel. It's just symptomatic of where things are going. But as I this war has created such a situation in Israel. And recently I bumped into a couple of tour guide friends of mine, and we're all talking about like, are we ever going to be able to go back to work? And all these things going on. And people ask me, because they know to whom I've been traveling and speaking to over the years. So they asked, are your peeps coming? And I've had to say, some of them just aren't whom I thought they were.
True.
I admit it. I admit it. And it's interesting. During COVID, I had my TV service disconnected. I still have the TV in the cabinet, but it's not connected to anything. So I watch clips of things on YouTube. So it's like I never saw Game of Thrones except in little clips. So, but anyway, make a long story short, there was a movie a couple of years ago with Tom Cruise, Jack Reacher,
Hmm.
different than the TV series. Anyway, there are five guys that get him outside. They want to fight him, and he basically said, he's like, let's get this over with. And he says, it's three against one. The guy's, what do you mean? It's five of us. He said, no, 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 no. In these kind of things, once I take out the lead guy, which is you, there'll be like one or two, guys to contend with. And the other two wingmen, just kind of,
Hmm.
run away. So the fight starts, and that's exactly what happens. And he looks around, he says, okay, now we know who's who. And that's why I'm
Hmm.
happy,
Hmm.
because now I know who's who.
Hmm. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, this is that continual what we've been talking about for probably since the first time we met each other.
Yeah.
This is that continual sifting that
Yeah.
has been going on, continues to be, and I'm looking around, and it's getting lonelier and lonelier these
Yeah.
days. I have to tell you, it really is. And I don't know. I mean, I can fight that, but there's no reason to really, because that's not going to change it. So, you just reach out and maybe find some new folks along the way, and you run with it. But
That's
so,
exactly the way it is.
well,
It's
you posted
exactly.
a video of some guys dancing up on the Harabite.
Yep. On
That
Sunday.
got a lot of people's attention. That was really cool.
Well, I got to tell you, strangest thing. I'll put up today's Israel update, and I'll get like a handful of people.
Hmm.
I am sure people look at it, but okay, but so you don't know. And then, I go back and I look into YouTube and I see how many views we have. I'll put up a minute on the mount and I'll get 45, 50
Hmm.
views. I put up a picture with my daughter Ayala
Hmm.
and I got like 300 views. I mean, it was like 300 likes. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this one has about 327 likes already.
Mm.
And these guys were part of our group. Now, I didn't write this in it, but a little later, they were asked nicely by the police to accompany them, and they were taken off the Temple Mount.
Mm.
But the big difference is they were not stopped
Yeah.
while they were dancing,
And they were
and
not
they
arrested.
were they I would say they were singing, but they were screaming
Oh
at the
yeah.
top of their lungs. I was a little bit of a distance away, and you still got how loud it was. None of them were manhandled by the police.
Yeah.
It's very, very different. Um, and I've gone to great lengths for well over a year, in particular, trying to explain to people the changes that we have been struggling, kind of clawing little by little to make these differences. And every once in a while, someone will say something like, why don't you just take down the
Yeah.
golden pimple? And it's like,
Yeah.
seriously, come on, let's have a real conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. We all know what our desired goal is, because we can read that this is Hashem's desired goal in the end, but how it gets there is a process.
yeah,
And the
it's a
very
process.
fact that you were on the cutting edge of this, and now are there's a reason why you're filming, I know, instead of dancing.
It's, you know, it's
Leave the dancing to the young guys.
well, that's the one thing. The other thing is, let's say for the sake of argument, if they get a ban for a month, they can't
Hmm.
ascend for a month. I'm a tour guide.
Yeah.
Eventually, I hope to go back to guiding.
Yeah, and
Uh,
and that yeah,
you know,
and that's what people don't
different
understand
situation.
is yeah, I mean you almost got it on the list when we went up there one time. That was tough. And but people don't understand the seriousness of this, that
Yeah,
as a Jew, as an Israeli, the standard that they had for their made up rules was just there's no court system, there's no appeals. Basically, they put your
yeah.
name in a system and you're done for.
The thing that's amazing is prayer, Jewish prayer, has never been forbidden by law on the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
There is no law. According to our Supreme Court, there is nothing wrong with Jewish prayer on the Temple Mount. The police have been given instructions by successive governments until recently to not allow it.
Hmm.
So when people say, well, prayer was forbidden, no, it actually wasn't.
Hmm.
It's just the enforcement of the laws. It's kind of interesting situation.
Yeah, it's kind of like, when we drive, down south of here, you've been with me, and we go through the those little towns in North Georgia. It
Yeah,
really doesn't matter what the speed limit sign, the speed limit, and you're thinking in your mind, well, there's a little bit of leeway there, and no, there isn't, because they are a rule unto themselves.
yeah.
A friend of mine, mutual friend of ours, actually spent the night in jail. There was no charges. There was nothing that was they could get him on. They said he was under the influence, but he wasn't. The drug test came back as such, but he still paid thousands of dollars in legal fees and spent the night in jail. It's a
I
rule to
didn't
itself,
I didn't
and
even know this
that's what it is
story. But
there.
okay. Wow. It's crazy. So each and every week we keep pushing the edge of the envelope.
Hmm.
And it's a process. It is a process for sure.
Well, yeah, it is. So the overall attitude regarding Israelis that you're talking to, of what you're seeing in the news, is it kind of a wait and see? I mean, my concern, Hanok, is this will be a bit of a lull in Israel letting their guard down. Is that possible
No,
happening, or
no,
you don't think so?
no, I don't
Good,
see that
good.
happening. Um, the expectation is somehow we'll get back to stuff in the north,
Hmm.
or that it'll be settled. Settled in the sense of some kind of ceasefire that will be enforceable. Because again, remember, we have a history here. In the year 2000, Prime Minister Ehud Barak overnight pulled out all of Israel's troops
Yeah.
that were in southern Lebanon and swore that the moment Hezbollah began firing missiles, we would go back in. Within weeks, they began firing missiles, and the rest is history. It's
Hmm.
24 years later.
Yeah.
Same thing, 2005. We pull out of Gaza. Prime Minister Arik Sharon assures us
Hmm.
if Hamas starts firing missiles, we're
Hmm.
going to go right back in. Never happened. So there is that concern. I'm not the only one that knows our history.
Yeah.
Everyone else here does.
Yeah.
It's a concern. Gaza is more of an issue because we don't see a way out.
And that was my final question to you is, we've talked about this before. There's no way out, but I mean, what do you do with Gaza? I know I've got my opinions, but that's not going to go through the government. I'm not going to, they're not going to be asking me my opinions on that. But what's the typical response of, well, now what do we do with this place?
That is the question that is unanswerable because the so-called Palestinian Authority is not an alternative.
Mhm.
allowing Hamas or Hamas and the PA and Qatar doesn't want to get involved, and United Arab Emirates doesn't want to get involved. Egypt doesn't want to get involved. Egypt won't allow a single quote unquote refugee from Gaza into their country.
Yeah.
They know something we don't know, you know? I mean,
Well,
it's unbelievable. So I don't know.
well,
And Trump's demanding that it be over.
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know
yeah.
what that means.
Well, as a last resort, I mean, if Netanyahu calls, tell him I am open for consultation. Okay, I'll offer that to him.
Remember, he's not going to ask for advice because he stands in front of that mirror every morning and says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the greatest of them all?"
Yeah. Well, I gave him my advice about 20 years ago, and I don't think he took it then, so he's probably not going to take it
I don't
now.
think so either, Mike.
Yeah, some things just don't change. Well,
No,
hey, at least, you guys don't have any government corruption like we do, pardons and, people flying off to Africa and then bringing up the slave industry and blaming America, even though that was black slave owners yeah, you guys don't have anything like that.
no, we just have a criminal prosecution against our prime minister that's never going to like get to court.
Isn't
It's
it
really,
amazing? Isn't it
yeah,
amazing? All right.
I don't know.
Well, I got to
Okay,
pack
on
up
that
and
happy
go up
note,
and see some mutual friends of ours this weekend. I'll be up in Gloucester, Virginia with House of David. So I'll give your regards to
please send my
everybody.
love and regards.
I will
Tell him
do
I'll
it.
see him in February.
All right. Take care.
Take care, Mike.